Hi everyone, my name is Matt Mariglia and this is Telling Stories with Google Slides. I'm a technology integrator from Starpoint Central School District, and I want to say thank you for taking my class via the Orleans Niagara Teacher Center, and this is being broadcast on via Google Hangouts EDU, kind of EDU on air is what they call it. So we're going to get right to it and get into telling some stories with the use of Google Slides. First up, you can see that I've changed the word from stories to comics, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Some topics we'll cover in the next few minutes here. Why would we use comics, and how to work with images and find some decent images for your students and for you. Let's talk, use of speech bubbles, how to be animated to make things really pop in your presentations and your stories, using some transitions, some titles and word art, how to group objects for easier movement around a page, and then a final word from me at the end. So why would we use comics or stories, let's say, in Google Slides? We're going to use the word comics a little bit easier. Kind of the first reason I have for it are, we know today's students are super visual. They learn sometimes a lot of them better visually than just by reading text. And really what the visual does is engage them more than they would be if things were not presented in a visual manner. And kind of my own kind of personal credo, I'm kind of a little bit old school. Something I learned back in college in the 1990s was a big left brain, right brain theory of learning. When you combine the analytic part of the brain and the global parts of our brain, retention increases. It just, when we combine the visual with the literary, boy is it powerful. And it opens the students up, comics do, with the power and value of storytelling, which seems to be getting lost in our world today with the amount of information that students kind of have. My little T is a little messed up there, but don't we write stories anymore? It's a question that gets asked a lot. That was a creative thing I did a lot as a kid, and I'm sure a lot of you did, and unless the kids are in school, they just don't write stories like they used to. And of course, for those of you that are Common Core oriented, the 4 C's of 21st century skills. Through stories, we can teach kids to think critically, teach them to communicate, teach them to collaborate, and importantly, create things from scratch. And comics can encourage all of these things. So that's why we use comics. Very first thing when we're working with Google Slides and we're going to create a story or have our students create stories and comics is the specifics of working with images. And what I call this is transparency versus the box. And it's a very frustrating thing for adults as it is for students. When we find the right kind of image, boy, does it make the comic and the kind of story that we're telling look and feel great. This is very frustrating for students. And it's better to find images that are transparent, which is not always easy, rather than ones that are with the box, as we say. The key phrase or key letters that go along with this that help us find these images is something called a PNG. And when we search PNGs, the transparent image, it certainly helps. Check out these two Googles on the bottom. They look pretty much the same. And since we're in Google Slides, I thought this would be appropriate. But as I move these, and I'm going to get into edit mode here so that we can see how different they are. As I move these, watch what happens. So I move this Google over top of the things that I have here, and it seems like the Google just kind of sits there, but I can see what's behind it. The Google itself is transparent, and I can put this in behind or in front of these words. Now check out when I move this one. And again, these seemingly look the same, but watch what happens when I move this. I'm blocked by this white box that's around it. And I can see the white box in the lines by clicking on it. So what we want to do when we create comics and stories in Google Slides, and our students do, is we want to teach them to find these images, the PNG ones, the transparent ones. So let's try to do that a little bit. I'm going to open up another browser here, and we're going to go into a Google search box. And I'm just going to type in, I don't know, puppy, let's say. I can orient myself more for the younger students right now. So I have a puppy. I'm going to hit images here. It's going to change my screen. I'm gonna have all these beautiful pictures of puppy. But under search tools here, the type, I can come up with an animated, a face, a photo, a clip art. I can come up with a lot of things. I can go into more tools here and put some things there. I can use my usage rights to find out for non-commercial ones for younger kids. I can change the color. I can change the size. But as I click through these, did you notice maybe a menu that would help me? It's under color, transparent. And now when I click transparent, I'm going to get a whole bunch of different images that should be transparent. So let's say I really and truly like this one right here, this puppy dog right here. So it's as simple as I can either drag it into the slides, or I can right click on it, I can copy it, or I can Control C and Control V. I'm going to come back to my work zone here. This is a spot where I'm going to be dropping things a lot, and I'm going to hit paste, and now I have this transparent puppy here that I can use and put behind things. Now, I'm glad this happened. I'm glad to pick this puppy. I'm not going to say I did it intentionally, but notice even though I searched for a transparent image, the white box still appeared. So it's a little bit of some trial and error here. So let's try this one right here. We'll copy this image, and we'll pop this into our work zone and see if that one's any better. No, that one didn't work either. So I think the best way to do it, rather than hitting transparent, is sometimes after puppy or before it, including the letters PNG. Okay. This one might work a little bit better. Now, when I clicked on this image, and I should have done this with the other two, can you see these checkered boxes around it? This lets me know that it's a PNG. So this one looks like one that I want to use. So I'm going to copy this image. I'm going to go back to my work zone here. I'm going to paste this one, and we're going to see how this one works a lot differently than the others. So finding these are important, especially if we're putting them over backgrounds, over words, behind words. So that's kind of important. So let's get back to our stories here. And again, using these two Google images, boy do they look alike, and on a white page in my work zone here, boy do they all look alike, but as we move them we can see that they're not, that they're much different because of that white box. So it's a frustrating thing for students, but this PNG can really help you a ton. Some more image work, especially if you're using backgrounds, especially for comics or slides, backgrounds can sometimes become a issue for students and for yourself. Go with more than one color like I did here. Use offset colors. You can change their fill and color to contrast your background. Use shapes to create panels. And ordering your images, which I'm going to show you, really allows you to layer your images where you want them. And you can even use an image for your background. A lot of times images can be forests or things like that. So let's go into our work zone. We're going to stick with the puppy phase here, but I'm going to get rid of the puppy, the puppies that are not transparent. I'm going to keep this one right here. And I'm going to get rid of my title here, if you don't mind. Get rid of that, delete that, and I got my puppy on the screen. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my background, and there is a button in Slides that allows me to do this. So I'm going to hit background, and a small little background box is going to come up. And it's going to allow me to change the color of my background to any color that Google offers me. So let's make this background this light blue, okay, light purple, for those of you that are colorblind like I am. I'm going to hit done, and you can see that my background has changed. Also, by hitting this background button, I can choose the background to be an image. I can upload an image that I have. I can take a snapshot of something. I can, if I have a URL, I could do that. I have albums of photos that I can look in if I have things saved to my drive. But I like to go into search. Makes it a lot easier for me. So let's say I want to put this puppy in a forest, and I'm going to search for forest. So I have a beautiful picture of a forest. Let's because it's not fall yet, we'll try that one. I'll hit select, and we'll turn my background into a forest, and I can size this puppy smaller or bigger and put him in the forest where I'd like him. And it's really that simple to change your slides and change your backgrounds. We'll click on background again. I can add the forest to my theme if I want. If I make a lot of changes and make a mistake, I can reset it to where it was originally. And since I really don't have a theme, it's just going to be a white background. So that's how I mess with backgrounds with pictures. Now, if I want my background to be panels or colors or things, so I'm going to reset this back to the white. And let's say I just want to make this panel an image. So I can go up here into my shape tool, and I can take, let's say, a triangle, draw a nice big triangle. I'm going to place it over here in the corner of my slide. Okay. Now here's a tough part. I want this to be a background, so I put it in front of the puppy so I can't see the puppy. It's as simple as arranging this where I want it by order, or I can right-click on it and I can use the word order. So I'm going to send this to the back. That's going to put it in the background. Okay. And my puppy might sit here. Maybe I want to make a panel, a comic panel. So let's get rid of my triangle. And again, I can size and shape these colors however I want. Let's say I want to make panels. So I'm going to make a bunch of boxes here. I'll put a panel here. I'll put another panel here. Let's say I had a panel going across my screen that was a comic book panel, and I had 2 slides or 2 panels of it. I can change these colors to whatever I'd like by hitting the little paint can here. I'll make one yellow. Ooh, that's a bright yellow one. Make one orange. And let's say in one of the panels, the puppy, again, I want to bring him to the front by right-clicking and hitting order. I want to send this panel to the back. So let's say I'm going to have the puppy in one panel, and I might put the puppy in another panel, and I can easily put the puppy in another panel by right-clicking on it, copying it, and pasting it. So I have another puppy, and boy, is that yellow bright, isn't it? So let's change that yellow to maybe a little less one. There we go. So now I have the puppy in one spot. If I want to turn the puppy, I can do that. If I want to change the puppy's orientation, I can just flip over my box like this, and now the puppy's facing the other way. So I can do a lot with an image. So now I have a comic book panel in my work zone, pretty simply. And I can put as much text inside this as I like by adding a text box. And you can see you have your little text box here. You can click on that, put it next to the puppy, and you can put the puppy, if I could spell puppy right, would be helpful, went into the woods. So there's my text that goes right along with it, and I'm looking at more of a comic panel here. But you can really do it a lot of ways. Now the thing not to forget is that you're not limited to this square that's here. You can take this image and make it bigger than the square that it belongs in. By making it larger or smaller, I can cover different spots. I can move this off the page a little bit, and it will just cover the areas I want. It works really well with circles. So if I just want like a curved line going down the middle of my panel, I'm going to add another slide here so I can show you this. Let me get rid of the text here. Again, this is my work zone, so a lot of you are going to be doing this when you actually make your own. But let's say I want to put like a half moon or something, and I make this giant circle like this. I can move this circle, let's make it that color. I can move the circle off the page and orient it in a way so that it's covering maybe half or part of the page. So now it looks kind of bad, but when I hit present, you see what I see is I see only that part. So I can really make some cool backgrounds and images and things by using the circle in that way. So that's some work with backgrounds and images and things like that. So let me go back to my presentation here. Again, I went over kind of panels, ordering images to layer them, how to use an image in your background, and look for images of character. Okay, character images are great. I use the puppy. I used to tell my students all the time, look for images of character, which kind of was a play on words. They always thought I should say, they would say, Mr. Wrigley, don't you mean characters? And I'm like, no, I kind of said that on purpose because I want your images to not only be of characters, but I want them to be of character. I want them to be appropriate, especially when students find and go searching for images, they can really find some stuff that really isn't appropriate for them. So moving on, where can we find these images here? There's a bunch of places. These I got from a bunch of different presenters over time. OpenClipArt has a bunch that are free. As I click on these, it'll take you to these spots. They're high quality, they're good, and they're commercially free, so you don't need to cite your source. There's free clip art here. You can use an advanced image to search. Really, I'm particular about where I have my students, and I have had my students find things. You need to be particular as well. I offer you some suggestions. You're definitely not limited to those, but just sending them to an open Google search is rather tough. What's kind of nice though, and this one right here I really want to highlight, is when you're in slides, and I'm clicking all over the place here now, when you're in slides you have something under tools called research. You also have this in Google Docs as well. When you click on this, it will give you a search bar over on the right and allow you to search for things. And there's your image search right there. If you hit this little triangle, it drops down. And when I search for images, let's say I'm going to search for that puppy again, I can pull this little drop-down box down, and it's going to give me a choice that allows me to find free-to-use, share or modify, even commercially, images. So I don't have to worry about my students finding images that are copyright. For instance, Disney images, which you never want to use without any kind of permission from Disney. Those of you that have had issues with Disney, you know this. They search the internet and look for things that are not allowed to be used. So I would click on this, especially with younger students. It's going to change my search a little bit, but then I'm going to be able to find my images. And I can put in the same features that I did before, where I can make this a PNG search, and I can find my puppy dogs that way. Okay, and they're free to use. A great little tip. And again, don't forget that PNG. You can copy and paste by doing Control and C and Control and V, or right click if you'd like. Again, find characters for your comics. And as you find images, you might want to do this while you're working in the slides, is go out and find all your images first and save them into a folder, and you can upload them from there for later. You might even have a specific folder for your students and make them take the images from that folder because you've pre-selected them as safe, especially for younger students. Not a bad idea to do that. All right, so we got our puppy here, and even though I don't have a puppy, I'm picking a puppy. Comics have to have speech. We want to talk to our audience. We want to have these characters talk. And I saw a French class that actually used characters and typed in speech bubbles that were in French, so the characters talk to each other in French. Make your characters talk. I'm going to show you some call-outs here, how to double and click the call-outs, which makes it super easy to add text, and how to move it around to go to the correct character. And you can order these to be over your characters, which is kind of neat. So I'm going to go back into my work zone. I'm going to go into my dog here. I'm going to get rid of the puppy, this puppy. I'm going to get rid of this panel. I'm going to get rid of this panel. Oops. There we go. Puppy's here. Let's give him a little background here. So I'm going to use kind of like a, I don't know, let's see here. I'm going to use like a, let's use a green grass kind of background. And I'm going to add the sky by taking a box, kind of doing the things that we've been doing here. I'm going to put this box right here. Let's make the sky really big here. I'm going to make this blue like the sky. Again, I am colorblind, so if this is like not even close to being blue, please let me know. That looks more like a sky. I'm going to order this, send it to the back so my puppy can be there. Now it looks like my puppy's standing on the grass, and let's give puppy a friend. So I'm going to use my research tools to look for a kitty PNG. Let's make it free and easy to use. It even gives me MLA, which we won't get into. This interesting kitty that I found. Let's see if I can find anything good. Ooh, let me get to the right page here. Scroll down a little bit. Again, the bar, it's not very big. I'm not seeing any good kitties. You can see I'm starting to filter through some tough stuff. So I'm going to go back up to my search up here, and I'm going to go into kitty, like a better mode here. Maybe I should try cat. So I'm giving you kind of a lesson on what to search for. Okay, so let's see. Let's click on this kitty right here. And we'll see, do we have the checkers? Yes, we do. So we can copy this. Those checkers are big. We'll go into our work zone again. Sorry, I'm clicking all over. We'll paste that kitty on there. Let's make him a little smaller and put him facing the puppy. Don't worry, I'm getting to the speech bubbles in a minute. Let's make the kitty smaller than the dog. Okay, so the kitty's here. We'll put him here. We want them to face each other, right? A lot of you are saying that. I can sense it. So we'll make the puppy a lot bigger than the kitty. So let's say these two want to have a conversation with each other. I'm going to go into this shape button again. Again, I can go into insert and find my shapes here, but this is a lot easier for me, and I'm going to use a call out. So I'm going to use this speech bubble right here. I'm going to draw it. Okay. Comes with a yellow diamond, and that yellow diamond, I can move this to where I need to move it to who's saying something. So I'm going to put this right on the kitty's head. If I double click inside this, it gives me a text box. Hi, puppy. I'm kitty. Again, I'm doing it very simple. What could kids put in here? They could put in definitions of literary terms. They could put definitions of social studies terms. They could put science concepts. They could have French and Spanish conversations. They might even ask questions about math. How do you solve for X? You know, have two characters talking to each other as they're explaining, I don't know, the quadratic equation. I know it seems a little out there, but it can really be creative with these things. So we have a little speech bubble here. Okay, so I'm going to leave that like that. Now maybe the puppy is not speaking out loud, but he's thinking something. So I'm going to use a call out that has a thought bubble, which is this one right here. And I'm going to make puppy think something. Again, it made it blue. I really don't want that blue. Let's keep it white. Maybe I'll make it this yellow color for puppy. Let's see here. And I'm going to double click, and I'm going to put kitty. Uh-oh. And so we have these two characters speaking to each other. And again, think about the course that you teach. Think about the concepts you'd want the kids maybe to get across. Maybe you want to take a middle school or high school concept and have it be taught to a younger audience. This is a great way to do it. So that's how you put in thought bubbles. And again, I can move this to go all the way over. Maybe the kitty's thinking something, or maybe I have multiple people doing it. But I can point this wherever I need to point it. Pointing it to his head is probably the best spot to point it. So there I have two people having a conversation. What would that look like when I present? That's what it would look like. Got a kitty, a few scratches here, and the puppy. Pretty neat. These are actual kitty and an actual puppy. A lot of times cartoons. You'll see kids that want to use cartoon kitties, cartoon puppies, cartoon objects, cartoon robots, cartoon penguins, cartoon, you name it, they'll use it. So I'm going to get out of my work zone and get back to my telling stories. I know I'm doing a lot of clicking around here. And I did this on here. You can see I took this thing right here, this thought bubble, and if I really want to bring this to my puppy, I can put it over top of his head, which makes it come right from him. Sometimes when I do it, let me take this kitty and put the order in the back, send backward one layer. Okay, let me send the kitty back another layer. Okay, sometimes that kitty might not be in the right spot, or that thought bubble will be over top of it or behind it. I can order this however I want, and by bringing him to the front, I can set it up. Now, there is what I was trying to show you. See how the kitty is over top of this? So by ordering this, bring to front brings it all the way to the front. Bring forward just brings it one layer. So this is multi-layered, and the same thing with backward and backward. So I want to bring this thought bubble or the speech bubble forward a layer, and I'm going to keep doing that until it's over top of the kitty. So that's kind of important to do, and then if I have to move it, I'll just move it like that. So that's one way to order. Order is really important. You're going to probably spend, when you're making these, some time with ordering, and don't get frustrated. It does take a little bit of time to do. So there's our talking and using order to have things over, and I use the puppy in this too as well. So let's scroll down a bit. and let's go to animation here. So I'm going to present this again in my present mode here. Animations allow for more order in your comics, how things happen in there. Okay, you can insert animations, which I will show you, and you want to find the right order of these animations in order to tell the story the way you want. Your students are going to want to tell the story in a quick order. So as I click on one here, okay, one Google comes in from the left. So I've ordered that to happen first, and then the other Google I want to come in from the right. So I can animate anything that's on my page, and I'll show you how to do that in my work zone here. So let's say I want Kitty to come in first and her thought bubble too. So I'm going to highlight this. Let me get out of all this. I'm going to go to Insert, and you can see I have animation here. It's going to open up a panel over on the side. So if I want to add an animation, I want to click on something. So when I click on this, it highlights that. I'm going to add this animation now. Okay, I want this to come in from the left, flying from the left. Okay, I can play it to see what it looks like. It'll show me. Here she comes. Okay, then when I hit stop, I'm out of the preview mode. So I want the kitty to fly in from the left, and that's the one that's going to happen. And I'm doing it on a click. I can do it after something happened already. I can do it with something if I like. Okay, and I can control the speed if I want. So I want Kitty to come in first. I want Kitty to say something next. I'm going to have this fade in. And by paragraph, okay? By paragraph is it will go bullet by bullet by bullet by bullet, okay? If you click on this, it will go group by group by group by group. So if I have a big chunk of text, it will bring the whole paragraph in one at a time. So click on that, don't click on it, especially if you're doing a bullet at a time. That's something you might want to mess with. So for instance, if I go back to my stories here and I insert an animation, I'm sorry, and I'm going to select on this kind of this whole text box, okay? I'm going to add this, and I'm going to hit by paragraph. When I play this, I'll show you what happens here. Notice how the Googles came in first. They're going in order. And now it's going to come in, because I click by paragraph, bullet by bullet by bullet. And that's probably a way that you'd want to do it, especially if you had directions or you were presenting with bullets like that. So let's go back to our work zone, and let's animate this here. So I'm going to have this fade in. Then I'm going to have the puppy come in next. He's going to come in from the right. And then I'm going to, again, I'm clicking on the thing that I wish to animate. Again, this takes some thought, takes some time. I'm going to have this, let's make this kind of just appear. And those are my orders. So I'm going to play this, and it's going to show me the order of my slide. So here comes Kitty. Here comes, hi puppy, I'm Kitty. Here comes the puppy. A kitty. Uh-oh. So now I have some animations to that, which makes it nice, makes the page a little more friendly, a little more easy, a little easier to look at. It's kind of neat. So I'm going to X out of this. I'm going to go back to telling stories, and let's click down to transitions. Now, transitions are a little bit different than animations. Transitions control the slides. Okay. The slide from right transition makes it read and look like a storybook. Kids will get crazy with transitions and make the screens kind of do everything. So let me go back to my work zone here. And again, I'm going to go back over to Insert, and there's animation. Okay. It's tough to find where transitions are. They're not really here. Okay. If I click on Slide, okay, that's where the transitions are. But again, I like to use this button because it's here. I'm not clicked on anything. That's important. And I'm going to click on Transition here. And now this is a little different. It's going to show me all my animations, and then I want to see what kind of transition I want. So slide from right is probably the one I want to use. So again, if I play this, it's going to show me, here comes the slide from the right, and then it'll go through all my animations. Now when I'm working on my animations, let's say I go into, where's my Insert animation, you will see something at the top of this box. There's the slide transitions right there. Okay, if there's no transition, it'll tell me that. If there are transitions, there are. If I click apply to all slides and I have a 15 slide presentation, it's going to apply to all the slides, which is kind of nice. You can apply it to everything. Kids will want a different transition for every slide, but if you want them to read like a storybook, please tell them, hey, slide from right or slide from left is really the best. What did I have here? Let's see here. Slide from right makes it look like a storybook. For panel comics, if you do make panel comics, Cube probably works the best. So let's take a look at what that looks like. It didn't really cube because I only had one. Cube will turn it like a square. So let's try that again. Let me hit present. And I'm going to escape because I didn't do something I told you to do. Let's apply it to all the slides. First here, let me start with the slide. Going to hit present. Go through all our puppy kitty animations. Again, this is my work zone, so it's not perfect. Click again, and there's my cube. That's what it makes it look like a cube, especially for panel comics. You can also gallery this, which is kind of a neat little thing. You can see it'll gallery itself. Kids use that a lot, especially when they're telling panel comics or doing a bunch of panels from slide to slide. That kind of works nice. So that's a little bit about transitions. Hang in there, we're almost getting towards the end here. Titles in WordArt are pretty simple. Something called WordArt, and by manipulating all the different parts of it, the color, the rotation, you can make it anything you want. And you can really add shapes to your WordArt to make super effects. So I'm going to go back to my work zone, and let's say this would be a title slide, and I wanted to put Kitty and Puppy Learn Science. I can go to Insert here, and I have something called WordArt. Very similar to Microsoft WordArt. And I'm going to type in Kitty and Puppy Learn Science. One exclamation point. I'm going to hit Enter. There's my WordArt. Now I can change this WordArt a bunch of different ways. Okay, I can change the color. I can change the fill. I can make it yellow on the inside. I can change the line color around it. So I'm going to make it blue and yellow. So I have blue around the letters now. I can change the font of it. So I can really make it, you know, let's put it Luckiest Guy. I can change a lot of things about it. I can make it big. I can make it not as wide. Okay. Probably shouldn't have used that font. There we go. Now the coolest thing is I can really make this like turn. So I can take this and turn it, put it across the top of my, well, let's do it this way. Doing a little design in front of you. I'm going to throw it across the top like this. And I'm going to copy and paste my two characters, two stars of the show, if you will. I'm using Control-C and Control-V here in the front. And for those of you saying, oh, I liked it over there, that's what you're thinking, you might be right. Now, if I wanted to add any other text and I didn't have a title, I can add a text box here. I can type in by Matt Mariglia. And now when I present this, here's what I have here. I have my title, I have who it's by. Again, I would take the time to orient this the way I want it, but I can really make it super creative, and it makes for a nice, WordArt makes for a nice title slide. There's my cube effect already. Let me go back to my slide here. What I did on this is, obviously I made a slide like this, so I made a shape. I put a shape behind it. So I made a lightning shape and I put it behind it. And adding shapes to things really, really help the way they look. Okay, the WordArt can be used even in the actual, descriptions of each character and what they're doing, or at the bottom of a page to say, this is, they meet for the first time, or intro to Kitty or Puppy, or whatever it is that you want this WordArt to do. Next little technique is grouping. Okay, grouping is important, especially if you want to keep things the same and you want to work fast. So you notice I have Puppy here that says I'm hungry, and then earlier on in my presentation I had Puppy here that says I'm hungry. Well, the callout is an image. The text is part of the callout. The puppy is separate. So I technically have two things here. You can see when I put a box over it, they look like that. Well, what I did is I grouped them. I'm going to ungroup them and show you how they will be separate. So I have that, and I have that. It's as simple as clicking on the image, holding down Shift and clicking on the other image, or word bubble, and then hitting group. Now I have them together. And if I want to use it again, I just have to simply click on it, right-click on it, copy it, and then go to another page that doesn't have it, and put it there. You can make comics very, very fast by doing this. And if I wanted to change where the thought bubble was, it's as simple as clicking on the images again and ungrouping them. And now I can manipulate this to where I need it to be on the page. What a huge time saver. Grouping things can save you just sometimes hours of work if you have a multi-slide presentation. Show these techniques to your students if they don't know how to do them. A lot of them will, especially even the younger children will know how to do that. So that's grouping. I'm going to go back to the start here and kind of re-look at the things that we've talked about here. I know I've been presenting and taking it in and out of present mode just so you can see a little bit easier. So we discussed a little bit on why using comics and how to work with images and do different things with images, how to do thought bubbles and speech, how to animate, how to use transitions to make it look like a storybook, word art, and especially grouping things is super powerful when it comes to making stories. So I've covered everything I wanted to cover, and so now I'm going to get to the finally part. Please, and again, I didn't do much with it here on purpose because I don't know what it is that all of you teach, but don't forget about your content. You have to have content from your class expressed when you're creating assignments like this for your students. It can be a content that's reviewed, it could be something that you're teaching and you want to teach it this way, or anything. You might use this as an end of a unit or end of a week assessment. Always have some kind of postscript at the end of the comic, either that gives directions onto what the students are doing, or maybe it's just the straight words that the kids need to know. They might say, well, where are the notes? If it's something you're using as a teaching tool, you want to have that at the end so they have the solid material. Sometimes the page at the end of your comic will be the directions. You might give them an example, like in this case, an example of a comic. For most of you that are using this for an assignment for an online class, you'll give them a page where it gives them directions after you've shown them how to do the comics or create a comic and what it should look like. Definitely have a way for kids that create these things to share them with you. Via Google is the best way. Hit the blue share button and share it off with a teacher, and allow them to present, even if it's a high school class. Last 5 minutes they show their presentations, or you put them up on a website for other people to see with the kids. Okay, it's great. Make these comics collaborative. Have them share and work together on things. You could create a comic or a story that gives each child, especially younger children, a slide that has them describe one aspect of the story, kind of like John, you're going to do the title slide, and Sally, you're going to do the first time Kitty and Puppy meet, and Jimmy, you're going to do, and you just can make a template that you share out with your class and have each of them in the Google document at the same time. Lastly, I want to thank all of you for listening and spend a little bit of time with me. I have my email address there, and if you're using this for the online class, the directions that I sent you will have a way to get in contact with me, probably via a Google Sheet where you can ask questions. It will notify me when a question has been entered, so I'll get an email, and then I'll be able to answer your question if you have any questions about any of the things that I showed you on this. But again, I want to thank everybody for listening and hanging out with me, pardon the pun, Matt Mariglia, and I wish you luck, and hopefully you're going to do some great things with Google Slides.